Pursuant to Standing Order 67-1, there will be a 30-minute period of questions and answers. Order. I would invite honorable colleagues who wish to ask questions to stand or use the raised hand function so that the chair has an idea how many members intend to participate.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The question that I know many Canadians are asking, while these Liberals, supported by those NDP, are offering a small tax trick for a few Canadians, including Christmas trees, but only if you buy them after December 14th. And if it's anything like my household, the tree's already been set up for a few days. Madam Speaker, the question is very, very simple. Why don't they reject the tax trick and instead vote to axe the carbon tax for all Canadians for good?
L'honorable ministre du Revenu national.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. C'est toujours étonnant à quel point ils n'ont rien compris à propos des changements climatiques, à quel point le prix sur la pollution, c'est important.
It's important for our children and our grandchildren to put a price on pollution. So we recognize that things are hard right now for families, for seniors, and for Canadians in general, and that's why we have no control over the price of products, but we can eliminate the GST for a certain period of time to give Canadians a break during the holidays and in the difficult months that often follow. Questions and comments?
Comments. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm wondering if my colleague can provide her thoughts on how important it is during the holiday seasons when we afford every member of Parliament, all of us of all political parties, have an opportunity to be able to give a bit of relief to Canadians during the holiday season by agreeing and voting for a tax cut for the GST on a number of products. I believe most Canadians would see that as a positive thing. I find it shocking that the Conservative Party, the leader of the Conservative Party, wants to vote against this motion and want to continue the filibuster as opposed to actually debating the issue of giving Canadians a tax break.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think my colleague's quite right. This is what we've been seeing over the past weeks and even years, I might say. When there's something we want to do to help people, to help Canadians deal with difficult situations, they're never there. We know that things are tough right now. We know there's pressure on families and people over the holidays. And even though we don't have any control over prices, we do have control over taxes. So we've made the choice to scrap the GST for 2 months to give Canadians a break.
For Barry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm wondering if the page could provide me with some tape so I can tape together the coalition agreement that was apparently ripped up by the leader of the NDP. What a shame and what a sham, Madam Speaker.
From the Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
That you could remind the honourable member that we're not allowed to use props, and maybe he should remember that. Thank you,
yes, we are not allowed to use props, as the honourable member well knows, including slivers of paper. The honourable member for Barrie Innisfil.
I did want to tape this back together, but I'll do that later. What a shame and a sham, Madam Speaker. Instead of fixing the structural problems that exist within our economy, the government, through their NDP partners in this costly coalition, are just throwing crumbs around. The problem is, and we've heard from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, the challenges that this is going to create on business at their busiest time of the year, Madam Speaker. How can this government justify this at this point when business is panning it? Economists are panning this plan as not structurally fixing it. They could do that by eliminating the carbon tax and other tax measures, but they're just providing crumbs right now. And worse yet, they're undermining democracy. They're undermining this Parliament with this spending measure with very little scrutiny. This government And the NDP partners are circling the bowl right now, and they're desperate to try to find anything they can to find any relevance in their existence. They're going to fail on this, and then we're going to have a common sense Conservative government that's going to do the things that needs to be done to fix this country, to return normalcy and decency back to it.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Madam Speaker, I'm shocked by that. Seriously, how can he say that we don't respect democracy when they, Conservatives, with the support of the other parties, are blocking this Parliament and have been for weeks? That's the insult to democracy. They are deliberately trying to break our democracy and not respect our institutions. Yes, we have lots of constructive measures to propose with, for example, taking the GST off the construction of housing and helping people who provide food in school settings. And so we have a green industrial strategy as well to encourage companies to invest in R&D and innovation. So we have lots of constructive measures to propose for our economy, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for her speech, but, you know, Canadians need a break right now. And so giving them a break over the holidays, it's supportable, but the NDP just a few weeks ago proposed taking the GST off essentials permanently. And while, you know, this is a small bit for Canadians, and of course we want any break they can get, but why not take the GST off essentials permanently?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do understand the question from my colleague. It's important. So we're starting off by giving people a break on the GST for 2 months, which is a particularly tough time for Canadians. And it's important to strike the right balance with these measures, helping people who are the most vulnerable at times, and then at other times helping workers. At sometimes we're helping people with disabilities. At other times we're helping people, seniors. So we have to strike a balance. And we know that times are tough for workers. So by creating this GST holiday, GST, HST holiday, that will help people out during this particularly tough time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, this little gift that they're fake Christmas gift, Madam Speaker, is exactly what this HST holiday is, given that Christmas trees will be GST, HST free in Newfoundland and Labrador, but the decorations to go on them, well, hopefully you had some from last year, because guess what? Decorations will still have the HST and GST in Newfoundland and Labrador, and menorahs aren't included. So, you know, is there some anti-Semitism going on? We know there's anti-seniorism and anti-disabled, because why are those needy groups not allowed the $250 checks that people making $150,000 are going to be able to receive? And then the federal pension plan was just robbed of $2 million. And where did that go? To this fake Christmas gift, Madam Speaker? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My colleague is pretty hard to follow. It wasn't very clear, but one thing is for sure, we're not fake. When we announce things, they're real things, not fake things. And the dental care I don't know what planet the member's living on. There are hundreds of thousands of Canadians who are already taking advantage of the dental care program, so it's not fake. Could I ask the member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier to either be quiet or leave the chamber? The Honourable Minister. So I can assure you, when we announce something, we go ahead with it, and it's totally real. For example, the disability benefit, which is very real, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Essential?
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I'd like to ask to the Minister, the CFIB, as was commented on by a Conservative colleague, they're calling on the Department of Finance to give affected small businesses a credit, a minimum of $1,000 in their GST, HST accounts to cover the administrative and programming costs of what this will cost to them for the holiday season. Is the government willing to do that to ensure that this isn't hurting those small businesses? Certainly the NDP is in favor of that. I'm wondering if the government is. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. So, we also heard the request from Restaurant Canada. Well, Restaurant Canada said this would be beneficial to them. So I think that there is an advantage for businesses here who are going to be able to advertise this tax break. And we know that businesses, and, up until not too long ago, I was a business owner. I know what it's like to run a business. And when we see an advantage for our clients, we know that it's an advantage for us as well. Our entrepreneurs are more and more well-equipped with good computer systems, and I'm sure they'll be able to apply this tax break in the coming months.
Honourable Member for Mission Mascouche Fraser Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Because the NDP Liberals are trying to fool Canadians with this tax trick, small businesses are forced and are very much scrambling to reprogram their point of sales machines and to find the time and money to pay for these changes. Madam Speaker, it's a shame that the minister here today did not care to think about the impact this change would have on the small businesses this government purports to help. We all know an election is coming. Can we just stop with the desperation and call a carbon tax election now?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So once again, I think that our system of small and medium-sized businesses and big businesses is working well in the country. They're well equipped, the technology is ready, and they'll certainly be able to put these changes into application. When it's good for consumers, it's good for businesses. And so I have full confidence that it's going to be perfectly doable and reasonable. Thank you.
Member for Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I noticed that the opposition is calling this a gimmick, a fraud, a trick, because they can't call it what it is, which is a tax cut. If they called it a tax cut, they would have to vote for it because they've been asking for a tax cut. So we're giving them this tax cut. And the only gimmicky thing here is what the Conservatives have been doing for the last while in the House by blocking any progress. But I wanted to say in response to calling this a fraud that stakeholders, Restaurant Canada has said this is a big win for the restaurant industry. It restores much needed hope in the industry. We're optimistic it will translate into increased spending at local restaurants across the country. So could I please ask the Minister if she could comment on why the timing of this tax break is so important for restaurants?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague because, yeah, absolutely, she's brought forward an opinion that shows the extent to which this is going to be beneficial for our businesses. And, we know that businesses often have an increase of business in December, but January and February tend to be tougher months. So by having the possibility to offer a rebate of 5 to 13%, according to the taxes that are affected in various provinces, well, that's going to allow those businesses, and particularly restaurateurs, to better serve their clientele. The Honourable Member for Fort McMurray Cold Lake. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I have a simple question for the Minister. Why a little GST break on Christmas trees but not on menorahs? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. So there's quite a long list of products that are particularly in demand during the holiday season. And among other things, there's children's clothing, gifts for children. And the intention is to ensure that a great number will be able to benefit from this tax break.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I would like to ask the Minister for a little bit of clarity. I've been speaking to business owners in Edmonton, Strathcona. I just spoke to a restaurant owner this morning, actually, and her concern was, the Minister has said over and over again that there's computers and it's easy to do. This business owner was telling me that it will be very, very difficult for her to do that. And the problem is that it's at a moment in time where business owners are already very busy because the Christmas rush has already started for many of these businesses. Now, for her, what she would have liked to have seen was that this would have come sooner, that this would not have been so last minute. And I'm wondering if the minister could comment on the fact that it took, weeks after the NDP had called for this action to be taken for the government to finally take the steps, and in fact has not provided the information that businesses need to be able to do the job, to be able to get through the holiday season, the very busiest season of the year for them.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is indeed a very busy season for our entrepreneurs, for restaurants, for our retailers this pre-holiday season, and we're certainly working with the full team at the Canada Revenue Agency on this. Today, even, you'll see on the CRA website a link that helps to explain all the information related to this tax break for the next 2 months, from December 14th to February 15th. So that information is on the CRA website, and we remain obviously in touch with the various associations that represent businesses so that we can answer their questions in an expedited way. And we'll continue to add documentation to that webpage so that businesses have all the information they need at their fingertips. The Honourable Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
I'm rising to ask a question on behalf of a business owner in my constituency who has three dollar stores. He has about 3,000 items per store that he'll have to change. Given 30 seconds per item, to go through, that's 90,000 seconds, that's 1,500 minutes, that's 25 hours. Between 9 p.m. that night and 9 a.m. the next morning, he has to pay somebody 25 hours, likely overtime. So we're going to call that $30 an hour times 750 hours is $1,500 per store, because he's got to pay them to do it. Take the GST off, put the GST back on, times 3 stores, it's $4,500. What's the government going to do to put $4,500 back into this business owner's pocket that he has to pay for their bad idea?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, I'm happy to know that employees who work in these businesses get $30 an hour in income. So, once again, I think that our business owners will find a way, with all the systems they have at their disposal, to make the changes that are necessary, because it's important to give this tax holiday to Canadians during the holiday season. And once again, businesses know that what's good for consumers is good for them. It increases business, and so it's good to make those investments. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. And I've listened to this conversation a lot, and truly it is a gimmick, Madam Speaker. When you're looking at this, we have money that will not be going out like they had promised. But when we're looking at people going to buy their Christmas gifts as of December 14th, ask any family member that's trying to get organized, that's already done. We know the costs are being reduced for only 2 months, and as of February 15th, it will not exist. So the impact of these businesses long-term will also be difficult. I want to go back to the question specifically to the businesses. Have they actually done a cost evaluation of how much it's actually going to cost small business with employees under 10, how much it's going to cost for this GST holiday?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Well, Madam Speaker, we're talking about a GST rebate for 2 months, which is going to benefit all Canadians. So on items that are among the most purchased during the holiday season, and this holiday is going to continue after the holidays, because we know that January, February is always a bit difficult. The credit cards are, always a bit more full. So this is going to give Canadians a break during this time of the year where, there's a lot of pressure on parents and grandparents. So we really want to make sure that with this tax holiday that we're giving Canadians a boost.
I'm a Lady Smith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to my colleague. Madam Speaker, I myself and of course my NDP colleagues understand full well that people are struggling to make ends meet right now, and anything that we can do to help people to be able to make ends meet, to just add a little bit of help to their pockets is a positive thing. Something that's coming up over and over again today is around the impacts on businesses, around the items that are being chosen to have the GST removed off of them. And I agree, there are some problems with that. And I'm wondering if the member could share why she and the Liberal Party did not just follow through with what the NDP was asking for, which is having GST removed off all essentials permanently, including home heating, cell phones, and internet and groceries. None of these problems that are being expressed by the Conservatives right now would even be an issue if they had just followed through with removing them off all products, all essential products for Canadians. Why did the Liberals not do that? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, it's always difficult to find the right balance, right? There are some who want more, there are some who want less. But I think that with this measure, which is timely, which comes at a critical time in the year, I think we've found the right balance. And once again, my colleague earlier said it very clearly. Restaurants Canada, which represents a huge number of restaurants across the country, have confirmed that for them this was great news, that they are ready to make the necessary changes. And once again, when it's good for consumers, it's good for businesses.
Colchester.
Madam Speaker, obviously the NDP Liberal Coalition, which is alive and well, is keen to talk about their tax trickery when we know it's not a tax cut because, of course, it's not permanent. The other interesting thing is we know that 2 million Canadians are going to a food bank every month. We know that 1 in 4 parents are giving up meals to feed their children. We know that there are cases of scurvy in this country. And what do we have the GST removed from? Candies. Confectionery classed as candies are goods sold as candies. Candy floss, chewing gum, chocolate, popcorn coated or treated with candy, chocolate, sugars, or artificial sweeteners, chips, crisps, puffs, curls, sticks of popcorn, brittle pretzels, salted nuts and seeds, fruit bars, roll-ups, or similar fruit-based snacks. This is ridiculous. We have people starving in this country because of the bad policies of this NDP Liberal government, and they want to give people chips and crisps? Nonsense.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue.
Merci,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's nothing that we can say that will make the Conservatives support a measure that will help Canadians. It's against their religion, helping Canadians. We've seen that with the school food programs, for example. They're against that. They talk about food banks, but they're not willing to support programs that we're putting in place like school food programs. And, when we're talking about the tax holiday, we're also talking about diapers and car seats, kids' clothing, kids' shoes, pre-prepared foods. So there's a wide range of products that are essential products, diapers, clothes, again. So, and there are also a number of, other important products, particularly for the holiday season. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member from Magog. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a question when it comes to the impact on businesses, because I wonder if the Liberals consulted businesses before bringing this measure into place, because, to have to make so many changes for just 2 months, that's a lot of costs for small businesses. And I think, we're talking with businesses and people in our riding who are maybe going to make the choice to close. There are Christmas markets, for example, who are saying, listen, it's not worth the trouble for me. What are they saying to those businesses? Are we supposed to say, okay, no big deal? And does this not create a sort of inflation? Because at some point, the missing money, the money they don't bring in is going to have to come back. The Honourable Member, the Minister for National Revenue. Well, listen, when it comes to being dramatic, that's about the best performance I've seen today. Christmas markets. Listen, in my region, we have a lot of Christmas markets. In my 35 municipalities, there's a lot of them, and I'm very happy for that. And once again, this tax holiday applies mainly to products for kids, diapers, clothing, car seats, shoes. So what we want here is to give Canadians a break during the holiday season and during the following weeks and months, because it's at that time when Canadians need a bit of a boost. Parents, grandparents are under pressure. They want to take kids out to restaurants, for example, and so that's why we're trying to give Canadians a boost when they need it.
The honourable member for Mississauga East, Cooksville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am glad to speak to this important bill. This tax measure, this tax break for Canadians during the holiday season through Christmas, Madam Speaker, this will make a world of a difference. What I do is I sympathize for the Conservatives who are being told, are being shackled, that they cannot vote for this tax measure for their constituents. They should stand up and support their constituents. They should support this important tax measure, this important bill. Madam Speaker, I want to ask the Minister, how will this impact, how will this affect positively the residents of Mississauga East Cooksville?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And I absolutely agree with my colleague. This measure will help Canadians, and because of that, we can't expect the Conservatives to support it. It goes against everything that they do in this House. When it comes to, for example, the Canada Disability Benefit, or when it comes to approving funding for school food programs, the Conservatives aren't present. We can't count on them. So once again, unfortunately, Madam Speaker, we want to give Canadians a tax break on GST and HST in various provinces so that the holidays can be more affordable, and so that we can do a bit more to help kids, among others. That's what we want to do at this time. We want to give parents, workers, grandparents a break in the holidays and the time after them. Thank you.
Member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What we have here is the Liberal Minister of National Revenue, the person responsible for collecting all your taxes in Canada, defending the 2-month tax trick of the Liberals to reduce taxes on cheesies and chips and beer. But most of today, that minister has been bragging about the lower cost restaurant meals that this will allow people to get. I'd like to ask the Minister of National Revenue, who has access to all the tax data in Canada, how many of the 2 million people a month that line up at the food bank will benefit from the lower cost restaurant food?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, once again, this tax holiday that we want to offer Canadians over the coming months covers children's clothing, diapers, children's shoes, car seats, books as well. Books, toys, puzzles, board games, prepared foods. A prepared meal that you might bring home. So, this is something that our government has tried to do from the very beginning. We want to help people when they need it most. We want to help those who need it most. We've done that with the Canada Child Benefit. You'll remember, back in the day, all families across Canada under the Conservatives got the same amount of money. We made some changes so that the money that families get is proportionate to their amount of revenue. That's lifted millions of kids out of poverty. So we want to continue doing this, giving Canadians a boost during the holiday season.
Facing a very serious situation in Canada with Canadians really struggling. As we know, 1 in 5 children are living in poverty, 2 million at food banks, and homeless encampments are popping up all over our cities, all over the country. And what's really interesting about this is it almost seems that the Liberals are finally admitting that Canadians are, in fact, really struggling after 9 years of their governance. And what makes this a trick, Madam Speaker, is that they're selling it as some big grandiose gesture to bring relief, when really it's only on relatively few items for relatively only a few weeks. So my question is, how can they possibly justify expecting all this praise for this when really all this amounts to is a few breadcrumbs for Canadians, when what they need is large-scale, permanent tax breaks like a carbon tax, axing the carbon tax. That's what Canadians need, Madam Speaker, not a few breadcrumbs from this Liberal government for a few measly weeks, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Well, what disrespect for Canadians, Madam Speaker. we know that, what we're talking about here is a tax holiday for 2 months. But what would the member say about when she's talking about breadcrumbs? No, the dental care program, people, particularly seniors, are really benefiting from that. The disability benefit, the Canada Child benefit, and all the investments that we've made in the housing sector. So we are there to help Canadians, Madam Speaker. But we certainly can't count on the Conservatives. They're going to be there to cut if ever they come back to power.
Go find a brief question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, the question on this debate is the closure motion and not the question of the bill itself and the GST cut. So I have a question for my friend, the Minister. I am always against closure motions, but after almost 2 months where we've been here in this House in a situation where we've been paralyzed, I'm going to vote in favor. But I will ask the Minister if there will be changes put in place to protect the most vulnerable in Canada in the next versions, or the next bills coming up. The Honourable Minister, a very brief answer. Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. So, obviously, right now we're talking about this particular tax holiday, but as we've seen over the last few years, our government is there to help the most vulnerable Canadians. We've shown that in many ways with the Canada Child benefit, with the dental benefit, with the food program in schools, and many more.